The Pontchartrain Park Pioneers Oral History Project is presented by the Center for African and African American Studies at Southern University at New Orleans and the following sponsors. The National Park Service, the United States Department of the Interior through the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism, the Louisiana Office of Cultural Development, and the Division of Historic Preservation. My name is Dr. Clyde Robertson. I'm the Director for the Center for African and African American Studies at Southern University at New Orleans. I'm also the Director and co-researcher and co-interviewer for the Pontchartrain Park Pioneers Oral History Project. This oral history project examines the lives and experiences of the original homeowners and residents of Pontchartrain Park. The Pontchartrain Park Pioneers Oral History Project's team consists of Ms. Connie Abdel Salam, Assistant Professor of History at Southern University at New Orleans, Dr. Mike Meehan, Director of Satellite Communications at Southern University at New Orleans, and Ms. Frances Helena, Senior Psychology Major, Southern University at New Orleans. Today's date is June 10th, 2019, and the time is 4:31. Please tell me your name and birth date.
My name is Ruth Oubre. I was born March 13, 1932.
And where were you born?
Edgard, Louisiana.
When and why did you move to New Orleans?
Well, my mother was in Edgard because her mother died. Then after I was born, she moved back to New Orleans.
And in what part of the city did you grow up?
Well, we lived on Fusher Street, uptown in Holy Ghost Parish. Then we moved from there downtown in the 7th Ward in the Lafitte Project.
And what was your maiden name once again?
Ruth.
You met Mr. Oubre. What was his full name?
Herbie Oubre.
And where did you meet Mr. Oubre?
In Edgard, Louisiana.
And when did he move to New Orleans?
When we got married.
What year was that?
1953.
Was Mr. Oubre in the military?
No.
What was his profession?
He was a merchant seaman.
What was your profession when you were married to Mr. Oubre?
Housewife.
How many children did you and Mr. Oubre have?
5.
And their names are?
Bryant, Oubre, Percy, Vanessa, Elise, and Herbie.
How did you hear about owning a home in Pontchartrain Park?
Well, we were looking for a house, and someone told my husband about Pontchartrain Park. At that time, the office was on Canal Street, so he dropped in to see Mr. Greenup, and he looked at the houses, the pictures of houses and all, and he picked one out. Then he came and he told me about it, and I went, and we decided what we wanted.
Prior to that point, where were you living?
I was living with my mother.
And when you and Mr. Oubre were married, you were living with your mother?
Yeah.
And what street was that on?
On Tonty.
Tonty, downtown?
Yeah, in the, what was it?
It would be the 7th, I think. 7th or 6th?
Yeah. Might be the 7th.
Are you familiar with the Urban League's Housing Questionnaire and Survey of 1955?
No.
Can you describe the process of obtaining your home? You talked about Mr. Oubre going down to meet with Mr. Greenup and identifying a home. What else went into actually purchasing the home?
Well, after he picked the house out, then they discussed in finance and all that. And at that time, they didn't have any streets or anything, because it took about almost 2 years before we moved in the house, because they had to put the streets and the drainage and everything, and then they had to, which there were prefab houses, but then after they put them up. So it was about 2 years.
So when you first went to him, what year was that? To Mr. Greenup, what year was that?
I think it was the late 53s or the early 54s. I don't remember.
And when did you move into the home?
It was close to 2 years.
So roughly 1955?
Probably so. I don't remember.
So around 1955. Did you hear of any negative talk about Pontchartrain Park?
Oh, no.
So everything that you heard was positive?
Positive, yes.
For example, could you cite some
Everybody
examples?
said, how it was a nice area and it would be something we didn't have. It was a nice subdivision for the black people.
Did you read anything in the media about Pontchartrain Park?
No, I don't remember.
Now, we are moving into the area of the interview where we're going to discuss life in Pontchartrain Park. So do you remember the month that you moved into the park?
No, I think it might have been the first part of the year.
1955.
I think so.
Now, when you moved into the park, how many children did you have?
2,
And they are?
Brian and Percy.
And you had 3 children while living in the park.
Right.
How long did you actually live in Pontchartrain Park?
25 years.
Now, you mentioned that Mr. Oubre identified a home and brought you sometime later to look at the home and approve it.
Yeah.
Can you describe the floor plan of that home? For example, how many bedrooms?
Oh, we had 3 bedrooms, a living room, a little dinette, kitchen, and a little kitchenette, just
And 1 or 2
one
bathrooms.
bed.
And of course, the front yard,
Yeah, in the
backyard, and 2
backyard.
side yards. Why did Mr. Oubre choose that particular model? There were at least 2 or 3 models of homes. Why did he choose that particular model?
Yes, that's what we could afford.
Yeah. Speaking of affordability, do you remember how much your home cost?
It was about 11,000.
What was it like when you first moved into Pontchartrain Park?
It was really nice. It was just like one big family, the whole block. Everybody got along together. It was really nice. In fact, today we still get along.
And were there many families on your block?
Yes.
Could you remember the names of any of them? You said you still get along with many.
The Morris, the oh, my mind been blank. And that's like I'm only whispering. Aguilar, Jolie, as we used to call him, Mr. Jolie. Oh God.
Now, when you moved into Pontchartrain Park, how old were you and Mr. Oubre?
I don't know. Let me see. I must have was about 22, 23.
And many of the people who bought those homes were of the same age,
Probably so.
with young children as well.
Oh yeah, the kids grew up together and they're still friends. The McNeils. I'll think of them gradually.
Did you know anyone else in the park when you and Mr. Oubre moved into the park?
No, we didn't know anyone.
When you moved into the park, did any of your friends and family treat you differently?
No.
Speaking of the park, do you remember any great stories or legends about the neighborhood?
Yeah, we all got along as one big family. If my child did something, you could correct. They did something, I could correct. Well, there was one guy across the street. He didn't like nobody to run on his lawn. They didn't have any kids. But after a while, he got used to it. And it was like a joke with him. I know he was on my lawn. I know he was on my lawn. But, he was just joking with them. But they all got along. It was real nice.
Do you remember any of the stories that your children would bring home? For example, there was a legend of the Lady in White in Pontchartrain Park. Are you familiar with the Lady in White story?
No.
You're not familiar with Lady in White? Who were some of the great personalities that you could remember in Pontchartrain Park?
Would it be Mr. Oubre?
People like maybe Ernest
Oh,
Moriel.
yeah, they lived in the block with us.
Yeah. The Moriels did.
Yeah. They lived there for maybe a year or so, then they moved on Press.
And Mr. McDermott Knox, who worked so closely with the youngsters.
Yeah, I remember him.
Do you remember any stories about him that Percy, Brian, Kirby would bring home?
Mr. Knox, the one that worked on the, with the kids on
Yes.
the... Oh, yeah, Mr. Knox, he was wonderful with the kids.
Now, you lived in the area of the park closest to the golf course.
Right.
How was that?
It was all right. It was nice.
Did any of you, did Mr. Oubre golf? Did any person in the
No, he
family
was
golf?
always at sea
Yeah.
until he retired.
Did Percy and Brian caddy?
No,
Did you stop them from caddying?
no. I never did let them go out there.
Why not?
I don't know. They never wanted to, I guess.
There's a lot of youngsters in the park with whom I grew up earned extra money caddying.
Oh,
But my father defied me
Yeah.
and my brother from going out there
yeah.
and caddying or swimming the lagoon
Right. Another
for
thing.
golf balls. Did you know of any tragedies that occurred in the park? Accidents?
No, I don't remember.
What were some of the advantages, or were there advantages to rearing your children in Pontchartrain Park?
Well, everybody there was so nice. They never did get in trouble. The elderly people, when they did something wrong, they correct them. They was letting them know what they were doing and why they did it. And that's why everything was so nice.
Were there any disadvantages to
No.
rearing your children in Pontchartrain Park? What did your family do for recreation when you lived in Pontchartrain Park? Did you go to the lake, Pontchartrain Beach?
Well, I would always take them around the city. And then when my husband was in, we would take them like to the airport, to the zoo, different places like that, so you could see. A lot of us sit by the window. At that time, you could put them sit by the window and watch the planes take off. We would take them out to dinner. One of the places, I never forget, we had taken them to Dookies. And I think it was Percy. He wanted a steak. And when we got by my father said, well, where did you all go? We went out to eat, and I had a snake.
What about you? You had the big yards. Did you have neighborhood gatherings in your yards, picnics, cookouts?
No, the children, different kids would come. Because we had the swings and things, they would come over.
Now, adjacent to Pontchartrain Park was Gentilly Woods.
Right.
And during the early years, Gentilly Woods was a white community.
Right.
Of working class, middle class whites. Mm-hmm. Did you encounter any difficulty with people from Gentilly Woods coming into Pontchartrain
No,
Park?
I never did.
Did you encounter any difficulty at the front, at the grocery store, at Walgreens, Sears, Maison Blanche?
No, I never.
Did your children talk about any difficulties?
No.
Are you familiar with the ditch?
The ditch?
The ditch.
No.
The canal that
yeah. Mm-hmm.
separated Pontchartrain Park
Right.
from Gentilly
Mm-hmm.
Woods. So there were no experiences
No.
at the... Were any of your children participants with the Pontchartrain Park Patriots Nord baseball, football teams, basketball teams?
Brian.
Was
Brian and Percy.
and also Herbie.
Yeah.
Were you a part of the Booster Club?
Yeah.
What was your role in the Booster Club? Did you?
I used to help with the children.
Can you remember any experience that you might have had as a booster?
Well, what I used to do I wasn't working, so I used to take the kids to the games. You know, I had a station wagon, and I just pile them all up in there and take them to the game.
Were those good memories?
Yeah, especially when they would win.
Now, you remember at that time, Pontchartrain Park had integrated the North Lakeshore League. Mm-hmm. Were there any experiences that...
No, I didn't have.
All positive experiences?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Were you a member of the Pontchartrain Park Association?
Yeah.
What were some of your roles there?
Just a member and help out what I can.
And what kind of assistance did you provide?
I used to mostly help with the kids.
Did you attend church in Pontchartrain Park?
Yes.
Which church did you attend in Pontchartrain Park?
St. Gabriel.
What kinds of experiences did you have? Did you have positive experiences at St. Gabriel?
No, we had negative.
Could you explain?
Well, when we would go to Mass, we had a certain section we had to sit. And then when we couldn't go to communion until everybody was finished, and they would bring the communion to us. We couldn't go up there too.
Do you remember the years that you were involved with St. Gabriel?
No, I don't remember.
Did you stay at St. Gabriel?
No.
Where did you go from there?
St. David? No. Where's one else? The one on Gentilly.
St. Paul.
St. Paul, yeah.
And how was it different at St. Paul?
It was really nice because the kids went to school there.
Was that integrated or was that black?
Black.
Before Hurricane Katrina, Did Pontchartrain Park begin to change before Hurricane Katrina?
Well, I wasn't living in there then.
When did you move from Pontchartrain Park?
78 or 77.
Prior to your moving, did Pontchartrain Park begin to change? And if so, for the better or worse?
No, it was about the same.
Why in 1977 did you all decide to move?
Because the kids was getting bigger, the house was small, they was going to college, and we needed more room.
And where did you move?
On Lake Willow.
Were there other Pontchartrain Park residents moving to this area of the city?
Yeah.
And do you know why they were moving?
I guess the same reason. Wanted a larger place. The family was getting bigger.
Are you happy to have moved away from Pontchartrain Park?
Not at first. Because that was my first home. And the kids was brought up there. That was all my memories there. And I really at first didn't care for it at all. I wanted to stay in Pontchartrain Park.
How was life different here in your current home and neighborhood than was the case in Pontchartrain Park?
Oh, it was better in Pontchartrain Park. Because this was mostly white. You just had a lady next door, and I think one a little further down. And that was it. But the neighbor across the street, they were very nice. They were very nice.
So the other neighbors who were white weren't as friendly or accepting?
No.
Now, in 1965, you had been in Pontchartrain Park roughly 10 years. Hurricane Betsy. Mm-hmm. Could you discuss your memories of Betsy?
Well, Betsy, we left. We went by my mom. And we didn't have any damage. Water in the street, but it didn't come all the way up. Didn't come in the house or anything. We didn't have any damage.
So there was little to no need to have to rebuild or repair your home?
No, not at all.
So did you move directly back into the home?
Right.
How long after the storm had passed that you moved into your home?
As soon as I was able to get back here.
A week, some days?
A couple of days. Because we didn't have that much water. It went down.
And your other neighbors, did they move back immediately
Everybody
as well?
moved back.
And did you get any form of assistance in moving back from the local, federal, state governments?
No.
After Hurricane Betsy, did you notice a change in the neighborhood?
No change at all.
Now, you moved in 1978. Did you sell your home?
No.
Rent your home?
No.
What did you do with your home?
One of my sons moved in. Then after he bought a house and moved out, the other son moved in, and he's there now.
Which sons?
Percy was the first one to go in. Now Herbie is in.
Do you visit your son in the family home?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has the neighborhood changed?
Oh, yeah.
Can you describe and discuss those changes?
Well, most of the people didn't come back, and it's just empty lots. The street is terrible. When you go there, you have to just crawl in your car because it's big holes. That's it. There's not too many people on the block. A lot of empty lots.
And Which street did you move on? Which street are we talking about?
DeBoer.
DeBoer is located again on what is known as the other side of the park. Are you familiar with that term, the other side of the park?
Yeah, we're on the side with the golf course.
That's right, the
Yeah.
side of the golf course.
We were the first ones there. That side was the first one.
In fact, if you moved in 1955, you are among the first ever residents of Pontchartrain Park.
Yeah.
Are you aware of Wendell Pierce's post-Katrina efforts to provide people with new homes in Pontchartrain Park?
Yeah.
What do you think of those new homes that he was able to establish?
I think they're nice.
Do you think he was successful in his attempt?
Yeah.
If so, why? Why do you think he was successful?
Because the houses the people needed, and he was helping them, because that's the type of person he is.
So, do you know Wendell well?
Yeah.
Did he grow up with one of your sons?
Yeah, he's
one of
just
your
like
daughters?
he's just like my son,
Which one?
Herbie.
Let us talk about the people you met early on in your experience with Pontchartrain Park. Are you still friends with any of them?
Most of them is dead. Only Miss Morris. Other than that, most of them is dead, or they didn't come back. Most of them is really dead.
What were your most memorable moments in Pontchartrain Park?
My neighbors were my neighbor on one side was very, very nice, you know. And they would always, when he would get off from work, he would always come over to the fence and tease the kids. What y'all did today? What did Mama cook today for y'all? Blah, blah, blah. And, you know, they were so nice.
Do you remember his name?
His last name was Aguilar.
Is there anything else you want to...
Alphonse. I think it was Alphonse.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about regarding Pontchartrain Park that we didn't address?
One thing is, when the kids was little teenagers, they went to a parade. And the police was nagging them about move back, this, that, and the other. And one of the Morris, he came back crying, and he said, that's why I'm going and get my education, because I want to be a lawyer. Because I'm tired of these policemen treating us like this. And he did. He became a lawyer.
What do you miss most about Pontchartrain Park?
Well, now I don't miss anything, but before, I miss the neighbors.
All right, well, this concludes our interview. I'd like to thank you, Mrs. Oubre, for participating in the Pontchartrain Park Pioneers Oral History Project.
I'm sorry I couldn't remember all the names.
You did fine.
I just want to tell you, my two daughters just got back from London to see Wendell's play. She said it was wonderful. She said it was real good.
Speaking of that, why do you think many of the young people, the children who were with your children in Pontchartrain Park are successful today?
Because of the parents. Because of the parents.
Well, again, thank you, Mrs. Oubre, for participating in the Pontchartrain Park Oral
Yeah, because
History
Wendell's
Project.
other brother, he worked for Obama. you know, and he didn't want to go to St. Augustine, so he went to Holy Cross.
My brother was among the first in Pontchartrain Park to go to Holy Cross. He went in '68.
Yeah, I don't remember what year he went, but I think it was like 7 blacks.
Yeah. From the park.
Not all of them was from the park, but the little Dejois boy, Ron, Herbie. I don't know if any others was from the park, but they all stick together.
Yeah, I remember all 3 of them very well.
Yeah.
They grew up under me.
Yeah. Yeah, Ron went to West Point.
West Point, yes.
And then the Dejois went to Naval Academy.
United States Naval
Yeah.
Academy at Annapolis, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember them quite well. They were on my father's baseball team, I think,
Yeah.
at the park. Was Herbie with Troy Henry? Was he in that same age group as Troy?
I don't know.
Or is he
No.
older than Troy?
I don't know.
Well,
Troy is the youngest or the oldest?
Troy is the second
Which
oldest.
Which one is the pharmacy?
That's the youngest. That's
the
Rustin.
Rustin, yeah. Okay.
He's with Rustin.
No,
He's-
I don't know. I don't know
I
if he's
think
with Rustin.
he's either older or younger. I think he might be older than Troy.
Could
He's
be.
with Rustin.
He's with Rustin. Yeah, he's younger than Troy. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. They all stuck together.
yeah, yeah. Quite a few success stories coming out
Yeah.
of the park.
Yeah.
There's
A
some
lot.
on the opposite end of that coin. There's some
Oh,
there's
yeah.
some heartbreaks as well.
Yep.
But I think there are more success stories coming out of the park than there are not.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And it has something to do, I think, with what you suggested, that each parent parented people other than their, in
Right.
addition to
That's
their
right.
children.
That's right.
Because it was the same thing on my block, which was Prentice Avenue.
Right.
There were people there. I can remember the ladies standing out, because there were a lot of homemakers.
Yeah.
A lot of ladies standing out as we would walk home, in my
Yeah.
case from St. Gabriel. And I never realized it then, what they were doing. But there was a gauntlet of parents from Gentlewood, from as I crossed the track into Pontchartrain Park, from Mendez all the way to Prentice Avenue. There would be just ladies standing in the
Standing.
doorway
Yeah.
or sitting, and we'd speak to them all the
Well,
way.
I used to, we had a lot of them going to St. Paul, and I used to pick them all up,
Yeah,
take them
yeah,
to school,
yeah.
because their parents was working, and I wasn't working, so
No, I can remember that well. It was
the Jones, I would take them.
Stevie and
No,
Boston.
Austin.
I don't.
It was a lot of them. There's only one boy.
They're older than you.
Okay. No, it was a glorious place in which to grow up.
I hope it builds up nice again. You know, because it was really nice.
Yeah.
That's what
Well, I
the
applaud.
Saisons,
I see that. I don't remember them.
they was on Congress. Their backyard and our backyard
Hmm.
was together.
I applaud Wendell. He experienced some difficulties that I think were born out of quite possibly him not knowing the system and the system's desire not to see, things come back the way that he had envisioned them.
Yeah.
But I think those houses that he did build successfully are tremendous additions. If he had been able to continue that, I think the park would look a little differently than it does.
Yeah.
Prentice Avenue, Congress, are still,
Yeah.
Press Drive are still pristine. It's
Right.
when you go into the communities.
In the streets. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Yes, those streets that are not on the main drag, as it were. They're the ones that there's a lot of abandonment.
Yeah.
A lot of abandonment. Homeowner abandonment as well as the municipal abandonment. Sidewalks, streets.
Now, when we first moved back there, Southern wasn't up. In fact, they didn't have streets back there then. And then finally, they began to put the paved. That's where I learned how to drive. I used to go over there and drive up and down.
Let me ask you, the role of SUNO, did SUNO have an impact? There were two schools in Pontchartrain Park. There was Southern University at New Orleans and Cockhill.
Yeah.
Did any of them have an impact on your standard of living, on your family?
No. No, because mine went to Catholic school.
Did your children use, for example, SUNO's library?
No. They used the one at the school that was attended.
All right. Are there any other memories that you'd like to
Well, I
share?
could hardly remember. I can hardly remember some of these people's names.
No, it's a tremendous contribution. If there aren't any other memories, then I'd like to again thank you for participating in the Pontchartrain Park Pioneers Oral History Project. This has been a presentation of the Center for African and African American Studies at Southern University at New Orleans and the following sponsors: the National Park Service, the United States Department of the Interior through the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism, the Louisiana Office of Cultural Development, and the Division of Historic Preservation.